I want to really thank Occasional Flannel for making the video explode with her video and her doing her bit to expose this feminist thinking that I believe is prevalent through all feminist writing in some way, perhaps usually more on a very subtle level. And a lot of you guys who hopefully are watching my videos, and I don't have that many subscribers either, so I feel your pain. But I think a lot of the guys who are watching this video will absolutely not be too shocked about the content of the pamphlet, and I'll link the pamphlet below. Basically, it's a pamphlet from 1981, and yeah, it's slightly old, but the people who wrote it are still around, and one of them is really around, and I'll let you know about her in a sec. But first, I want to read a quick excerpt from it. So basically, the pamphlet is it's got a lot of feminist ideas put forward, and then they have like hypothetical questions someone, I guess, reading the pamphlet would ask. And one of the hypothetical questions that they feel a regular woman would ask while reading it is, but it sounds like you're saying that heterosexual women are the enemy. And by the way, the pamphlet is called Love Your Enemy, the debate between heterosexual feminism and political lesbianism. So nice title. So the question is, but it sounds like you're saying that heterosexual women are the enemy. And this is the answer given by the feminist panel who wrote this. No, men are the enemy. Heterosexual women are collaborators with the enemy. All the good work that our heterosexual feminist sisters do for women is undermined by the counter-revolutionary activity they engage in with men. Being a heterosexual feminist is like being in the resistance in Nazi-occupied Europe, where in the daytime you blow up a bridge and in the evening you rush to repair it. So that gives you a little idea of the kind of basic gist of the article, and it gets way worse, I can tell you that. Like, that's probably one of the better things I came across. I haven't read the whole thing all the way through. I read bits and pieces, but if you have the time to spend, I recommend you read it. And the problem with this article is, if this was like, feminists love to say, oh, this isn't a real feminist writing this article. No way, this isn't me. A feminist is only about equality, right? The problem is that one of the people who wrote this pamphlet is, what's her name? Sheila Jeffries, and I'll link her profile below. And this is currently studying as a university professor, and she's put out a lot more work, but I'm certain her mind hasn't changed a lot from the thinking she put out in this pamphlet. And if it has changed, it probably changed because she wanted more people on the feminist side, and she wanted to kind of tone down her original thoughts. And she even says in the article, like they say in the article, that this was an honest view of the feminist movement. Anyway, read the article yourself and see what you think. I'm going to address a few issues here, and the first, this is like a really fluffy kind of observation that I make, and again, this is a personal view, but whenever you're in a kind of minority sexuality, like if you're homosexual, or if you are, like taking dumps on your chest or something like that, any kind of obscure sexuality, it's natural for people, like heterosexual people want to get laid, and nerds want to get laid, or any kind of demographic, and it's natural for human beings to want to increase the chances to have sex. Like, that's in every one of us. And gay people do this all the time. Like, my gay friends would say to me, oh, they say that, everyone's a little bit gay, and I think you feel like you want to try something new. And to them I say, go on, player, do your best, and I've got no problem with that. The issue becomes with an article like this is, but it's not saying, oh, look, lesbian sex is kind of nice, why don't you give it a go, it's not hurting anybody, give it a go, see if you like it, you might like it, you never know. It's not saying that, it's blatantly saying men are fucking horrible, that's why you don't don't even fucking have sex with them. And another article Shape and Inferno put up about stopping sex with Republicans kind of demonstrates this hatred and this use of sex as some kind of weapon. Look, yeah, women will always use, I think, sexuality, they'll always see sexuality as a weapon, and in some ways that might be true. However, I'd say that it's the kind of weapon that really doesn't, it's a double-edged blade in a way, and lesbianism, I guess, could be a way to kind of counteract that. But if you really look at the underlying, so I'll give you my personal opinion of sexuality, and again, this might sound a little bit hippie, but you don't have to look at, so whenever I say energy, you don't have to view it as some esoterical thing. Like, I do have a spiritual side to myself, but I just use the word energy as an overall mix of all the things that make somebody masculine or make somebody feminine. So that's hormones, you know, the whole shebang, how the decisions they make in life, the things they act. And so I believe that there's masculine energy and there's feminine energy. There will be a submissive person and a dominant person. And in lesbian relationships, I'm sure that's as well. Of course, the feminine energy is a bit different. Like, masculine energy tends to clash with each other. And feminine energy, like, you already see women kind of holding hands, and, you know, they're already kind of... so I think lesbianism is kind of a bit more natural, like, for women to do, in a way, if that makes any sense. Like, they're already kind of hugging, and the female energy is more... yeah, it goes together a bit more smoother than, you know, male energy butting itself against each other. And however, I do believe that while, of course, you know, men can be born feminine and women can be born more masculine, and that's absolutely fine. However, the hypocrisy happens is when male energy and the male vehicle, the biological vehicle that, like, I've been born into, and I do believe that the biological vehicle that we are born into has the best potential to express the kind of energy it was designed to do. Like, the male body, I believe, has the best potential to express the male energy, and the female body as well has the best potential to express the female energy. That doesn't mean we can't express the other energies too, but that's the ideal. And you even see, like, that's why transgender people say, you know, nature made a mistake, it put me in this wrong body. Like, why do they say that? It's because whatever it is that is them, whatever is trying to express itself, does not feel right in the body that it's in. And the hypocrisy from feminism comes that they will say, you know, as soon as a man wants to put on a dress, as soon as a woman wants to cut her hair short, which is actually pretty sexy, but as soon as she wants to cut her hair short and play rugby, that's great, you know, do that, and, you know, that's awesome. But as soon as a man wants to act masculine, you know, he's a musclehead, or he should express his emotions, and this is the hypocrisy of it, and you see it everywhere. You see it everywhere. And what this ends up doing is basically the same thing that makes a little gay kid feel, you know, terrible at school, that he can't express himself and he wants to just do ballet. The same kind of thing that gay kid is experiencing from, and I'll admit that it's from people that are maybe a bit insensitive to it. Nonetheless, they shouldn't go to jail for it, but that's a different topic. That same thing that he's experiencing, you are transferring onto the regular heterosexual, you know, population, the regular kid who doesn't want to play rugby and doesn't want to, you know, pervert chicks on the beach, or doesn't want to express himself in a masculine way. You're basically making those kids feel just as bad. And I personally won't stand for it, and that's why I'm, you know, fighting here and doing my best to first expose that feminism is not this, you know, thing that is just for equality and it's just for female rights. It's not. It's really a limited group of people who bullshit their way into saying that yes, they are for equality, but it's a complete lie, and you can see it. It's just a small group of people with a very limited view of the world trying to project their view onto other people. And I'll say this, just because, so she had an example about some Nazi camp. I'll say this: you don't have to want the best for Germany and be a Nazi. You know, all the Nazis wanted is the best for Germany. Just because someone wants the best for Germany doesn't mean they have to support a group with a certain idea of how the best for Germany could be achieved. Even groups like Scientology, they, of course, they take it to the extreme, but they're against it's called psychological, okay, fuck man, I can't even pronounce it, but you know, psychiatric medication. So they're completely against it, which I don't agree with. But they have some good points, and I would go out of my way to say that, you know, Scientology has some decent points there. But that doesn't mean I'm going to run off and start worshipping Xenu or whatnot. You don't have to do that. And anyone who tells you that you do is just trying to convince you of something, and that is exactly what feminists are doing. And here we have the truth coming out. This is like the Xenu files that Scientology released, where they basically had to show in court exactly what they believe. So this is the truth coming out, and you can see like Scientology does the same thing. While we're on the subject, they'll tell you that they are just, you know, any religion is compatible with them, but as the article that Chapin put out, and you know, you kind of have to be a leftist, you can't be a Republican. So they'll say that, yes, oh, you know, you can be a Christian and be in Scientologist, but no, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. And here the truth is coming out. So I can't play this video, but I recommend you pause this video right now and watch the link I have for Ali G versus a feminist. And if you haven't seen this already, but pay attention to the very last part where basically Ali G says that during the heats of passion, he says to his Julie, he calls her my bitch or a bitch, and she has no problem with it. And watch the feminist reaction. So have you watched that? The feminist is very outraged, obviously, and like you do when you're a feminist. However, I've read this certain book called, and you don't really have to read a book, just from personal experience, if you've ever been with a woman and you felt the interplay between dominance and submissiveness, and I don't even like to use the word submitting, I like the word surrender, because that's the kind of, I think the kind of feeling that, yes, like submission it's not a bad word, but surrender I think is a better word. But you understand the interplay, and you know, when you're having sex, basically, to put it bluntly, and you know, you want to pull on a girl's hair or something like that. Now, I read the book called, and I recommend everyone reads this book. Maybe don't pay for it because it is written by feminists. Like, these books are written by feminists, and it's written by Nancy Friday, and it's called Forbidden Flowers. But she has a couple more. She's got Secret Garden, which I haven't read, and what it is, it's feminist commentary on female fantasies. So females write in and they tell basically their fantasies, and I'm sure feminists write in and explain their fantasies, and these fantasies will make a sailor blush, I can tell you. And a lot of feminist men need to read the fantasies that these women have. And I'd say if the fantasy contains a gang rape in it, that's one of the more nice fantasies. So it's full of basically domination, rape, incest, and there's a lot of other things in it. Like, it's not just about that, and it's really worth a read. But see, the problem becomes when, now that's a fantasy. Like, obviously a woman, the reality of being raped is obviously not going to be as pleasurable as a woman thinks. And you know, we all have these fantasies. Like, I don't know, maybe some people even have like really evil fantasies. I personally never had a fantasy of like killing somebody, like killing my boss or something like that. But maybe people, you know, have some extreme fantasy, and just because in your mind it kind of maybe feels good, like to imagine that, it doesn't mean the reality is going to be good. And I'm not saying that gang rape is good or anything like that, but that kind of female surrender, and maybe women should kind of comment on this more, and I'd love to see what Occasional Flannel thinks about it, that it's natural for women to, like, they like it when I pull their hair, or when I call them a bitch, or when I kind of dominate them a little bit. Like, that's something that's natural to women to enjoy, and it's the same reason why homosexual men like to be dominated as well, and I'm sure they do, and I'm sure lesbians have the same kind of thing going in between them. And again, the hypocrisy is that if a man wants to dress up like a woman and surrender to his man and get fucked by him and, you know, get ravaged, or you know what I mean, guys. So if a man wants to do that, or if a woman wants to do that with her lesbian lover who's got the strap-on dildo already, so that's fine. But as soon as the sexuality is expressed through somebody with the biologically correct parts for it, suddenly it's wrong, it's terrible, it's you know, perpetuating the patriarchy that we have here. So and you certainly can't be for equal rights if you do that. I really gotta end it here, I think, because I can probably talk about this topic for hours on end. It's really something that fascinates me a lot, and it's really the personal relationships between men and women, and the personal attacks, I guess you can say, on males is what I'm really fascinated in, more so than the politics. Like, I don't know much about law and the legal side and the political side of a lot of things that feminists do. However, the social side, and that's really my interest, and this is like a blatant example of just general hypocrisy. And again, read the article if you can bear it. But yeah, there's more truth coming out. And I always say that our greatest weapon is the feminists themselves. The greatest weapon of the MRA is the blatant hypocrisy. And if people read this article and still think feminism is about equality, honestly, like, that, we did our best, and I think it's just time to pack up and, you know, move to another country and let the feminists do what they want here. Because if people got into a point that they're so retarded that they can't see the forest for the trees, then there's no hope. All we can do is, you know, keep putting the truth out there and hope for the best. Anyway, thanks guys, and yeah, peace. Too.